Welcome to 52 Weeks of Hope. This is where you get to hear how to feel happy, balanced, and worthwhile. How to make that lonely ache vanish and feel empowered, confident, and secure. I'm Lauren Abrams, and I get to help you feel that magic again since going through my own dark night of the soul by chatting with incredible leaders, healers, and elders who give us their messages of hope after overcoming challenges of their own. Today, we're talking to the wellness coach, yoga and mindfulness teacher, Suzy McCalley. Are you stuck in pain, stress, and feeling overly anxious and ready now for relief? That weight to be lifted from your chest? You get to hear Suzy right now. Suzy grew up in a cult, and she used her experiences to turn them into art and so much more. She shares her incredible story and uses her experiences to empower you to consciously take charge of your health and well-being so you get to live the life you really want. Listen right now and learn how to achieve greater mental, emotional, and physical balance. Overcome challenges and reduce your stress so that you can achieve greater health, happiness, and an overall increased sense of well-being. Just this incredible story. Welcome to 52 Weeks of Hope, Suzy.
Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in a cult and turned that experience into art. And I mean, that right there just begs so many different questions. So I have to start there. Can you please tell us, where did you grow up and what was that experience and how did you turn that into art? Because that's just so beautiful. I know there's so much in that.
So yes, I grew up in a cult called the Children of God, and then the family, they had a rebranding after some bad press.
Yeah. So wait, where was this?
So this was in Brazil. So grew up, my parents were both musicians. They joined the organization as young people, teenagers, and really my mother is Brazilian and she was a teenager and started getting involved with the group. My father is American from Maryland. He had hitchhiked to California and kind of synced up with them there. And it was part of the whole hippie movement, and so with them, that's how he made his way down to Brazil and lived there for 20 years. So they really had, these beautiful intentions and this passionate hearts for service and for living what they thought was a very genuine, religious life. And there's some beautiful things about that. And there was also a lot of pain and a lot of trauma in the way that we were raised. It was fairly dogmatic. We didn't have very much contact with the outside world and even with, outside extended family members. And so it was really kind of this bubble, which again had both beautiful things. Like, for example, we would sing every day as a group, and part of my love of music, and now, of course, I'm a musician as well, is probably born, I'm sure, from that period. But then also the downside and traumas that, abuses that I experienced and even sexual abuse. And, part of my journey of healing has been, like Brene Brown, of course, talks about the courage of vulnerability and finding that story within myself and acknowledging it for me first for my own healing and then being able to share it with others. Some of the beautiful outcomes of that have been actually other people in my family coming out and with similar stories. And so that messy, ongoing healing process can really begin.
Do you have siblings?
I do, yes. I'm the middle of 5.
Wow. And so how long were you in? Did you guys live in the cult?
Yeah. So we kind of transitioned out. I moved to the U.S. when I was 10 in Miami first and still with the organization, and then with Texas, and moved to Texas still with the group. And then probably I was around 12, so the most awkward period of your life, 12, 13. And that's when we left the group and went out on our own, which was really scary for all of us. My parents had never had normal, quote unquote, normal job. And so they're out there, trying to figure things out and keep us safe financially. And, it was the first time being on our own with our own house. And really just for us kids, that painful, really identity struggle of, okay, we were these special, we were always raised to believe we were these special, chosen people. And now all of a sudden we are what they called systemite or backsliders. And so that meant anybody that left the group, and so I'm still processing with my siblings, what that meant for us in that time. And of course, my parents were just trying to survive. And so there was little guidance, honestly, at that point. So it's something we're still unpacking even today as a family.
Yeah. Are you in touch with all your siblings or did any of them go back? Did anybody go back?
No. We're also grateful for where we are now. Everyone is thriving and very successful, but we're so happy that our parents left when they did, because of those pivotal teenage years. No, none of them have gone back. We're all very close, and they live, I have a couple that we live all over San Diego, London, Texas. And so we get together and travel and meet up. We just got back from a family trip to Brazil and seeing family there. So it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, I would imagine. So how do you recover from something like that? And I mean, was there therapy? Was it not talked about? Did you say, oh, I just left? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So no, there was no therapy. It just really wasn't. There's some intergenerational stuff that is coming up as far as trauma too in my family, and reasons why, there was a culture of secrecy kind of passed down. Like, for instance, we just found out through DNA testing that we're all Jewish.
Oh, my stepsister just found that out through the, what is it? What's the DNA thing with
right.
Yeah, anyway.
I think my mom did ancestry.com.
Yeah, that.
And
one of those.
And so she actually had family members to contact her, and she made some big discoveries about new family members. It's her story to tell, so I'm going to leave it at that. For many reasons, this was something that was secret and that was not safe. When they moved to Brazil because of persecution, it wasn't safe for them to be who they were. And so, going through that, I think it just developed a culture of, not talking about our things. And so when I was struggling with anxiety, depression as a teenager and engaging in all these risky behaviors, drugs, sex, just all this exploring that really I look back on it now, and it was me trying to find balance. And even, now as a yoga teacher, as a mindfulness teacher, I look at it also from nervous system point of view. And it was really me just trying to find equilibrium and reaching out to all of these external sources to do so, which we know is not very productive a lot of the time. So, to your question about, what kind of support was available, it was like, go read your Bible, go pray about it. No, we're not going to go do therapy. Like, that's not how we do things. That's not really part of our family culture, what we believe. And we're just now changing that in our own family. So it made it for a very difficult transition. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s and I discovered yoga and all these mindfulness tools, and then kind of went down that rabbit hole, getting, I'm a certified Reiki master. I've been coaching folks for a decade plus. And, but it was really out of desperation, to be completely honest. Like so many of your speakers share about how where they are in their healing journey has come from a place of pain. And, that was really my motivator for writing the play as well. As you mentioned, turning trauma into art.
Yeah. So did you go to college?
I went to college. I just got my master's finished last summer during COVID.
Oh, congratulations. I know. I saw that up there. So when you went to college, did you talk about, I used to be in a cult? I'm sorry. I just am so like...
No, absolutely. I know. Yeah. It's interesting how each of us, so being one of 5 siblings, it's so interesting. Like, so one of my sisters, like, really never talks about it. And even like her very close friendships, like, never talks about it. And then I have another sibling, when, the first time you meet him, he'll tell you, I grew up in a cult. So yeah, it's a range.
Like slowly as they get to know you. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a cult. I guess it's definitely an icebreaker at parties, I don't know.
There is. Yes. And I'm kind of in the middle. Unless in the targeted space because, it can even be triggering for not just for me, but for other people. And so you never know what anyone's background is.
I could tell you would read that energy in somebody though. You're the type of person that would know not to say it to this person unless you wanted to get a response. You just...
sometimes I share and sometimes I don't. That's been a journey as well, like who to share, how much, when, with.
Right. And the oversharing. Is. So how did yoga, you said everything started getting released with you with yoga. How did yoga start doing that for you?
So in my first class, even though this is so funny to me, it was taught by our PE teacher at my community college. And she had like the most unsoothing voice you could ever possibly imagine. But it didn't matter. Like, of course, they're like 6,000 years old. And so it didn't really matter, who was delivering it. The message came across. And for me, the message in that moment was relief. And, one of the first times that I remember feeling like just the absence of what I now know to be anxiety and stress. And I didn't even have words for it then. It just felt like I was always on edge and, something was like wrong. And fundamentally, as I peeled back those layers, the belief that something was wrong with me. And in that moment, it was just relief and peace. And so I was like, okay, there's something to this. And then, I was a single mom raising my son and all the challenges of that. And so I just kept coming back to it periodically, and then finally was like, okay, I'm going for it. And, opened my studio shortly after getting certified. Now I'm a 500-hour yoga instructor. And as I mentioned, a lot of other modalities that I've gotten into, including tapping and access bars, and even became a certified Tantra practitioner as a way to really address my own healing and then share it with others.
Oh, sure. If you were sexually abused, just lost it. Something bars?
Access bars. It's another healing. Yeah, it's another healing modality that was kind of channeled and really works with the energy systems of the body to help us find balance. There was a period of time where I was like, people kept telling me, well, you do so much, because I'm a musician, I have an album out, I'm a playwright, I'm an actor, I've starred in films, I do speaking, I do coaching, and then I have, my practice, and I also started a nonprofit. So we bring yoga and arts into underserved schools, and I'm very passionate about that. But, it's like you do so much. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, really, I just do one thing. And that is healing. That's it. Like, whether it's through the arts, whether it's through yoga, meditation, like whether it's for me, whether it's for others, like it's just that one thing for me.
Yeah. It's like I'm of love and service, and that brings hope. So I understand. I completely get that. So you turned your experience into art. Do you want to talk about how you did that and how somebody else would be able to do that if that's what's meant for them? And how would they know what is meant for them? Because you do teach mindfulness.
Can I ask for the question again?
Yeah. So you turned your experience of being in a cult, you turned that into art, which is beautiful. And I'll start there. How did you do that?
You mentioned my meditation practice, and to me, everything starts with looking inward. And so I don't know how I did that, to be honest. I had a lot of support, as part of a journey along the way. I worked closely with collaborators, had a lot of encouragement. So I certainly didn't do it alone. But for me, it was reflecting on that. And then it's like, Morgana Ray, who was also on your show, talks about the process of alchemy, taking, the deepest, darkest, richest compost and turning it into something that brings light. And so for me, that looks like writing my own play and producing and directing it. And then it looks like writing my own story and my one-woman show and taking it on the road and doing it off Broadway and sharing it with folks in that way. So to anyone that is interested in turning your story or your compost into art, I would say absolutely do it. And I think getting clear on the reasons why, getting clear on my why, like so many people talk about, was very helpful in being able to see it through, because not everybody was thrilled that I was doing that play. So make sure that you're clear, with yourself as to our intentions, and also making sure that it's not causing harm, right? So like making sure that we have processed enough to be at a point where we can share it in a way that brings more healing and connection in the world instead of, causing more harm.
Yeah, of course. And how would you tell someone to get clear on what it is that they want to do. They have this feeling like, I know there's more. I'm not doing what I'm here and meant to do.
Yeah, I really believe, I think we were talking about Mary, your guest on the show, and she talks about how each of us has all the knowledge within us. So, it's really about uncovering what's already there. We're all born, little kids are like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they're very comfortable with desire and with stating it. And then, and then we have layers on top that confuse things or distract us or send us on a different path and, might be connected to survival strategies from when we were little kids or we wanted to please, and we can get kind of thwarted on our path. And so for me, as I'm supporting clients, it's more about how can we hold space for who we really are, and how can we let some of those layers peel off or melt off. Hopefully it's, it can be a very beautiful, transformative, and even a gentle process in letting some of that, whether it's the stress or the anxiety or the depression, getting to the root of that so that we can allow it to peel back and reveal who we really are and all of the desire and purpose that comes with it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I firmly believe we each have our own unique print. We each have our own handprint. We're each unique in our own way. So when we think, but somebody's already doing it, but nobody's doing it the way you can. There's nobody that can do it the way you can do what you want to do. And so if there's something you want to do, you can do it. Nobody can speak it the way you can. No one can write it the way you can do it. No one can dance it the way you can or perform it as you were, whatever it is.
And we just need more too. We need more of this in the world. So, you are an attorney and, so most people don't say, I can't be a lawyer. There's already lawyers in the world. It's like, we need more. We need more healing. We need more healers, more artists. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, how do you help people feel the relief that they need, especially right now? What do you suggest? I mean, I guess that's an individualized question. It's a tough one, but there's so many people that do need relief.
Absolutely. So through COVID, I've been working with a lot of organizations and supporting them with their staff. And so I've heard from hundreds of mostly women who I have the fortune to work with. And this is a huge one that comes up is I need relief. We survey people and that's one of the top things that we're hearing is I need relief. And so once we understand the problem a little bit more, there are thousands of ways that we can address it, whether that's through the breath, whether that's through journaling, whether that's through movement and stretching, whether it's through creating healthier boundaries for ourselves or with work or family. So those are some ways that we can address, but really taking time to look at this, not only individual, but collective issues that are coming up. And you're right, it's individual for each person. It's different for each organization as to what is causing the stressors and the pain and the isolation for folks. But then once we spend time with that, really, again, trusting that we all have this innate wisdom to be able, when we have the opportunity, and it's really helpful to have someone holding space for us and to do this work in community with our peers. One of my favorite quotes from Miriam Greenspan is that healing happens in community. And I really believe that, it's not just by ourselves on our meditation cushion, and it's not just in therapy. Those are all important, but we also need that social healing, social justice piece, which is part of what I believe that we're all both individually and collectively searching for. So that was kind of a roundabout way to look at really spending time with the problem and trusting that we have answers within us. So a lot of my work is facilitating folks to do that inward journey. And we do a lot of journaling and we use a lot of different tools to help us get there.
And for journaling, I was always taught to handwrite, not on a keyboard. Is it the same? Is that what you teach?
I believe so. There's something about that hand-head heart-body connection with the handwriting. A lot of my plays and screenplays I do by hand, and then I transfer it over. So there's something to that for sure.
Yeah. Now, you founded the breathing room, and can you talk about the importance of breath? I don't mean just for staying alive, but you want to talk about what the breathing room is and the importance of breath?
Yes. We'll start with the breath.
Yeah.
The first thing we do when we're born, the last thing we do before we die. It's pretty essential, pretty key. And yet many of us don't have the skills, haven't taken the time to really unlearn poor patterns of breath. So we're all born knowing how to breathe naturally. The belly expands, the rib expands on the inhale. It gently comes back on the exhale. And then, because of stress, because of nervous systems being out of whack, because of, especially maybe for women, not wanting to appear fat, these kinds of things or wearing bras or tight fitting clothing, that we are not breathing in a way that's most supportive to our bodies. And so really just getting back to the essential breath and the effects that can have on not just our nervous system, but then how that affects everything else in our lives and our choices. So the breath is very key to what we do. And it is, taking a full breath is one of the most radical things that we can do sometimes, especially in difficult moments. And so we even notice, we all do this, the breath really reflects our emotions and our thoughts. So we all know that when we're feeling anxious, the breath might be more shallow and higher up in the body. And then when we're feeling calm and relaxed and safe, the breath might be longer. We might especially have a longer exhale. And so just really building our awareness to this very key and quote unquote basic human thing that we do so that we can have more ease and more influence over our thoughts and emotions. And then, the breathing room, I started it about 8 years ago, and I really wanted to bring together both yoga and the arts and all of these healing arts kind of in one space and really make it accessible to folks. So a lot of people that we work with are newer to the practice, and so they have all the, reservations like, well, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes. I hear that a lot. I'm not flexible enough, or, I can't meditate because my mind never shuts off. And of course, that's not really the goal of meditation. It's really becoming more friends with our minds, with our bodies, and accepting ourselves where we are. And so that was my passion behind opening the breathing room. And now we've been partnering with, like you mentioned, the downtown detention center where we live, and bringing yoga to the women inmates there, and also working with behavioral health centers, working with mental health, the patient. And then we started Breathing Access, a nonprofit. I founded it and I serve as executive director. And it was really a matter of how can we bring this to youth? And so we are partnering with schools and our local school district to support not only students, but also educators and staff, because the research shows that when we take care of ourselves, we're better equipped to take care and to teach others.
Definitely. If they're doing it, they're going to pass that on.
Right.
I talk about, do you have, that's a good segue too. What practices do you do on a regular basis?
So to me, some of my friends are like, oh, you're so disciplined because you do this, every day. And I was like, I never really thought of it as discipline, because for me, it's really my medication kind of a thing. For me, it's maintenance, and it makes me feel good. So naturally, I want to do it, and I feel it when I don't. So as far as what I personally do every day, and this is not what's right for everybody, this is what's right for me right now. I meditate in the mornings. I have my tea. I do my journaling. I do yoga. I walk pretty often. I'm getting into gardening. So those are some of the things that I do. And then I have boundaries with my phone and with work. And I'm also not on social media, and I haven't been on for a few years, and that's not right for everybody. It was right for me, and that could change at any moment. But those are some things that I do to maintain and stay healthy. And I have a pretty strong social group that I nurture my relationships. And so those are some of the things.
I love those. Those are so great. And what got you started, like really in, like with the journaling? Why would you have started? Here you are, you're doing yoga, you founded the meditation. What made you start journaling?
I really trace that back to, I took a course called The Artist's Way that a lot of people have heard of, very familiar with. And so I love Julia Cameron. I read all her books. And so I started doing morning pages and I've just kept it up.
That explains it right there. Okay. Yeah. Amanda Payton, one of my earlier, I think it was early, her episode was out, I think in January. She does The Artist's Way and she talks about journaling. And she also talks about for somebody having a hard time getting up in the morning, just make one of your goals, wash one dish. Like make your goals that small and easy. Don't make it look for a job, 5 jobs, or like, she made it the goal setting so small because that's how she was able to do things, because she's been in that place. I mean, and I talked to her when she was on location in London. So, the fires were raging here at the time and she was, and everything changes. So anyway, it's just interesting.
That is so important. I really want to underscore that is really baby steps. So even as I sit here talking about, and of course at this point I've customized my whole life around my practice and what's right for me. That took a long time. It didn't happen overnight. And I am very lucky to have the life that I have right now that I've built. But yes, the baby steps, is really how we get to where we want to go. So the teeniest, tiniest action, whether that's waking up at the same time every morning, which is so important for our circadian rhythm, just finding that smallest little next step.
Yeah. Do you have a message of hope you want to give?
So many of the folks that I've been talking to during COVID and now post are dealing with isolation and feeling like you talk so much about in your podcast, feeling alone. And so remembering that we are connected, whether that's to other people or whether that's spirit or nature or our families, that we are not alone and that we are okay, that you are okay and that you are safe. Hope, if you're not safe, taking steps to get to a place to be safe. And once we're there, retraining our nervous system to know that we are okay, that we are safe, and being able to create our lives from that space instead of creating from a place of fear and insecurity and isolation.
That's such a good message to give. It's really important. And anybody who wants to get in touch with Suzy, all of her links and everything will be on the website. And she does private coaching. She does so much, but she does do private coaching as well. I do want to take a minute to mention that. Is there any question I should have asked you that I forgot to ask that you wish I had asked? And we're going to be off of this and you're like, Lauren didn't ask me this.
Okay, hold on. You should ask me to sing.
Oh, I've never asked anybody to do that. Is there something in particular that you should be singing?
So I can't believe I'm suggesting that, but I hosted a group for leaders during COVID, and based on what each of them was struggling with, we created a collective song that I wrote. And it's very simple. It's kind of like a little mantra. And so I would like to share that with folks right now.
Okay.
And if you feel like humming along, that is so beautiful and balancing for our nervous system. So please feel free. It's a simple tune. So I think you'll get it just fine. I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, I am worthy. I am more than enough. I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, I am brave, I am worthy. I am more than enough. You can keep singing that song. You can replace it with the words that are especially meaningful for you, like I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, I am worthy. But finding simple things that you can sing as a mantra. I do have an album on Spotify that we'll link too that has some soothing songs like this.
Ah, that was wonderful. I had no idea what to expect. I was like, okay.
Me either.
So look on your face. You got to watch this on YouTube now so that you can see the look on Suzy's face when she said that. And you look radiant right now. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fabulous. That was very, very fun and surprising. And you just made my day. So,
awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a guest today on 52 Weeks of Hope.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode and take with you Suzy's messages of hope, empowerment, and mindfulness. Such great messages we get to take into our week ahead. Join us in our Facebook group where we're talking about everything from today's podcast, as well as gratitude and healing and reaching for your biggest dreams. We also have a monthly meetup in the 52 Weeks of Hope Facebook group with different guests each month leading healing and tapping or breath work and different types of modalities for you. So be sure to join the Facebook group and also get on the email list so that you know what's happening. You're one of the first in the know, so to speak. That's at 52weeksofhope.com. And in September, we're having a free breathwork session, which is really fun, and we all get to join in that together. So be sure to join in 52 Weeks of Hope in the Facebook group and get on the email list on the website, 52weeksofhope.com. Next week, be sure to tune in for a PR expert motivational speaker. She's a super motivational speaker. You will just be ready to go after listening to Michelle Lamont. She's also a coach. If you're sick of feeling alone, choosing the wrong path, wrong partners, things like that, or that life's too hard feeling, Michelle has been there, that's for sure. And she's learned those hard lessons. And she is on next week's episode teaching you how to choose that easier path and listen to your higher self. She's personally manifested an interview with Oprah Winfrey, Kim Kardashian, Cindy Crawford. She just moved to her dream home on the beach, right on the water. She's an amazing speaker, gigs all over the country right now. And listen for how she's truly turned her life around and she'll teach you how to do the same. That's next week for a really uplifting episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, please tell 2 of your friends as well as leave a positive review. I'm Lauren Abrams. Thanks again for listening.